head of product, golden boy of the company. The type of man who thought his charm was a personality and his job title was a license to humiliate people, especially women. And I was the quiet one. The one who stayed late, picked up slack, didn't interrupt. The one they always said was so organized and such a team player. Jason liked that. He liked women who didn't threaten him. Until one day I made a suggestion in a product meeting, something he hadn't thought of. A real improvement. Something smart. He smiled. Then he said, "Amanda, that's cute, but let's let the big boys talk strategy, yeah?" People laughed. I did not. I sat there with heat in my face and my fists clenched under the table while he smirked like a frat boy who'd just won a beer pong game. Later, he sent me a Slack message. Nothing personal, just keeping the energy light in the room. I didn't reply. Because something in me had shifted. And I wasn't gonna let it shift back. It didn't end there. He started doing it more often. Interrupting me. Undermining me. Once, he read a report I spent 4 nights building and said, "Solid attempt, Amanda. We'll polish it up." I knew what that meant. He would strip my name off it and present it as his. So I started documenting. Every message. Every comment. Every stolen project. I wasn't going to HR, I was going to war. Jason had power. He knew it. He wore it like cologne, heavy, suffocating, and impossible to ignore. People kissed up to him. Because he closed deals. Because he got things done. Because he made the company money, even if it came at someone else's expense. So when I started building my case, I knew it had to be perfect. Emotionless. Precise. Unbreakable. I started with Slack. Downloaded archives. Took screenshots. Highlighted timestamps. Then came emails, where I'd send original drafts and he'd forward slightly edited versions to leadership with his name attached. Meetings? I recorded what I could. When he said things like, "She just helps with the formatting," or "I streamlined Amanda's draft," I noted them all. I wasn't just collecting data. I was building a weapon. Meanwhile, I kept smiling. Kept nodding. Let him believe I was still the quiet one. Until one afternoon he made a joke about my blouse in front of the dev team. Something about how HR must have approved that neckline. They laughed. I did not. I walked straight to my desk. Opened the folder I had labeled Jason, final. And I wrote one email. Not to HR. To legal. Subject, workplace misconduct. Documentation attached. I didn't hear back for 2 days. Then came the meeting invite. Private review, 10:00 a.m., conference room C. From legal. With HRCCD. Jason wasn't invited. I walked in with a printed binder. Labeled. Indexed. Tabbed. Inside, 23 screenshots. 8 email threads. 3 audio transcripts. 1 side-by-side comparison of project versions, mine and the ones he'd passed off as his own. The legal rep flipped through it in silence. The HR manager's face went stiff. Then I spoke. Not with tears. Not with rage. With facts. I told him what he'd done. What he'd taken. How he'd turned me into a punchline while using my work to climb higher. And when I finished, I handed them a flash drive with everything in digital format. "Please don't just bury this," I said quietly. "Because if you do, I won't." They nodded. And I left the room. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. Jason had no idea what was coming. He thought I was just the girl with the clipboard. But I was the girl who just lit the fuse under his career. The investigation started quietly. Jason didn't even notice at first. He kept strutting through the office, making jokes, taking credit, holding court like a discount celebrity in a startup hoodie. But behind the scenes, people were being called into meetings. Whispers started. The HR manager stopped laughing at his jokes. Legal started showing up to team huddles just to observe. And I said nothing. Just kept working. Delivering spotless reports. letting my performance speak while his charm wilted under scrutiny. Then came the audit. Finance began reviewing project ownership. Leadership started rechecking decks and campaign notes. And one by one, the threads began to unravel. Jason pulled me aside one afternoon. "Hey," he said, fake smile in place. "Everything cool?" I looked him dead in the eyes. "Why wouldn't it be?" He laughed, nervous, hollow. "Just feels like something's up." I tilted my head. "Maybe something is." Then I walked away. And for the first time, he didn't have a comeback. 2 days later, he was pulled into a closed-door meeting. He walked in smirking. He didn't walk out the same way. His face was pale. His eyes wouldn't meet anyone's. He left early and didn't come in the next day. The office started buzzing. I stayed quiet. But inside, I was calm. Because storms don't announce themselves. They arrive. The official email came on a Thursday. Staff update, effective immediately, Jason M. is no longer with the company. No explanation. No farewell lunch. Just gone. The same man who once joked about how untouchable he was now didn't even get a goodbye thread. People whispered, of course. They always do. Some pretended to be shocked. Some knew exactly why. A few brave ones came to my desk. Said things like, "Hey, I'm really glad someone finally said something." One even added, "I'm sorry I laughed that day, it wasn't funny." I nodded. Accepted it. Didn't gloat. Because this wasn't just about Jason. This was about every woman who's ever been mocked in a meeting, passed over, cut off mid-sentence, or told her voice was too much. This was about showing that silence doesn't mean weakness, it means watch your step. Later that week, I got a meeting request from the VP. "Let's talk growth opportunities," the subject line read. I walked in expecting a mate conversation. Instead, she slid a new offer across the table. Title change. Salary bump. Team leadership. "I've been watching how you handled yourself," she said. "And we need more of that at the top." I shook her hand. And for the first time since Jason's smirk first cut me down, I felt taller than him. I didn't just take the promotion. I owned it. Led my first team meeting the next Monday. Set expectations. Redefined workflows. Built a culture that didn't reward arrogance but amplified collaboration. People responded. The same designers Jason used to bark at. They opened up. Hitched better. Stayed late without being asked, not from fear, but from pride. The dev team finally got credit on the company blog. Junior analysts started contributing in meetings. It was like someone opened a window in a room that had been stale for years. One afternoon, I walked past Jason's old office. It was empty. His nameplate gone. The chair still had the imprint of the man who once used it to loom over me. I stepped inside for a moment. Just stood there. Let the silence wash over me. And then I smiled. Because it wasn't revenge anymore. It was reclamation. A month later, I got a LinkedIn request. From Jason. No message. Just a blank invite. I clicked ignore. Then blocked him. Not out of anger, but because some pages don't deserve rereading. Especially the ones where you're no longer the one being written over. Jason didn't stay quiet forever. A few weeks later, a post popped up on a mutual connections feed. It was him, rebranding. Sometimes the biggest growth comes from being misunderstood. I've learned, I've reflected, and I'm ready to lead with empathy. Followed by a photo of him standing alone on a hiking trail, staring into fog like he was waiting for enlightenment. I almost laughed. He wasn't sorry. He was unemployed. He didn't learn empathy. He learned consequence. And he didn't reflect. He just couldn't spin it this time. But the comments? That's what got me. People weren't buying it. One wrote, "Empathy starts with accountability, still waiting to hear yours." Another, "You stole from a woman and got caught, sit down." It spiraled. He deleted the post 2 days later. Blocked half his critics. Went radio silent again. Meanwhile, I kept growing. Led a successful product relaunch. Spoke at a tech panel. Got invited to mentor at a startup incubator for women in leadership. I accepted. Because this story wasn't just about Jason anymore. It was about all the Jasons. And all the women who never got to finish their sentences. One of the interns asked me a question after a workshop. She said, "How did you stay so calm when he humiliated you like that?" I paused, then told her the truth. I wasn't calm, not inside. I was furious, but rage without strategy burns out fast, and I didn't want to burn. I wanted to build something better. She nodded slowly, wrote it down in her notebook like it was scripture. I wasn't trying to sound wise. I was just speaking from experience. Because being underestimated isn't always a curse. Sometimes it's camouflage. Sometimes it's the thing that lets you get close enough to pull the lever they didn't see coming. I kept building my team. We won internal awards. Cut budget for a new hire. Redesigned our entire workflow in 6 weeks flat. Leadership took notice. And one day, in a quarterly town hall, the CEO said, "We've seen a 30% increase in delivery velocity, and we credit Amanda's leadership." The whole room clapped. I just smiled. Not because I needed validation, but because it used to be Jason getting that kind of praise on my back. Now, he was a ghost. And I was the one casting shadows. I ran into him once. At a networking mixer hosted by a local startup hub. He wasn't on the guest list. Probably tagged along with someone, still trying to stay relevant, I guess. He saw me from across the room. Paused. Half smiled. I didn't move. Didn't wave. I just held his gaze long enough for him to look away first. Then I turned back to my conversation. A junior product manager asking about career growth. She never even noticed him standing there. And that was the real shift. He used to command rooms. Now, he barely registered. I heard he was freelancing now. Consulting. Trying to find a way back in. But the industry talks. And the people who used to protect him. Gone. Turns out, when your only currency is ego, no one rushes to cover your debts. Some nights I think back to that meeting. The one where he said, "Let the big boys talk." And I smile. Because that moment, meant to put me down, ended up being the very match I needed. He wanted to shut me up. He built my momentum instead. These days I don't think about Jason much. He's a footnote. A cautionary tale told in whispers by interns and junior managers. Remember when Amanda flipped the power structure without raising her voice? I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to threaten. I documented. I waited. I executed. Like every woman who's ever been called emotional for having a boundary or dismissed as cute when she had an idea. I didn't just win. I changed the game. My team's now one of the top performing divisions in the company. I mentor. I lead. And every time someone tries to cut another woman down with a smirk or a joke, I see people flinch, because they remember what happened the last time. I'm not feared. I'm respected. And there's a difference. The new intern brought me coffee the other day and said, "You're the reason I applied here." I looked at her. Young. Sharp. Ready. And I realized, the best revenge isn't what you take from someone like Jason. It's what you give to the ones who come next. A clear path. A louder voice. A chair at the head of the damn table. Jason took his shot in a meeting. I took his legacy. And built something better in its place.